Hello, everybody. This is your hostess, Jennifer McCray, J Shrink, and I know y'all haven't seen me in a long time. I have been under the weather, over the weather, pain in my knee and my back. I haven't had time to research or concentrate on anything because of my health. But I came across something just in passing that I thought you may be interested in. Specifically for fans who are fans of Christopher Columbus, the man who supposedly, allegedly discovered America. Right? Okay. So your history was whitewashed. He did not discover America. In fact, he did not step foot on the American continent. Instead, he landed on a small island south of the continent known as Hispaniola. Hispaniola today consists of Dominican Republic and Haiti. So as small children, they brainwashed us and taught us to celebrate and glorify this horrible man because he supposedly discovered America. He thought that he was seeking gold, silk, and spices from India. He thought he found a new route to India when he came, and because nobody else had ever come that way. So when he saw the dark people with the black hair, long black hair, he just decided to call them Indians. Their people were there hundreds and thousands of years before he was, but he discovered America. Okay. So he called these people Indians, even though they really just called indigenous people. And these people were friendly, hospitable, vulnerable, naive. And he took advantage of this because they had to help his white butt navigate through the rainforests of the tropics. You know, he wouldn't have known how to get food or how to eat or how to survive without these people. So he did like most white folks during this age. He took advantage of the people. In fact, he proved to be a tyrant, slave trader, sadist, a prolific pedophile, and a pimp. Yes, I said a prolific pedophile and a pimp. According to Vox's Dylan Matthew, he was responsible for the two greatest sins in American history. One, discovering the Atlantic slave trade, which opened the way for African slaves to be brought into the Americas, and the genocide of the American indigenous people. During his 4 voyages to the New World. When he got there were 300,000 Taino indigenous people. However, when he left, there was only 500, due largely to his torturous treatment, rape, bodily mutilation, and mass suicides by the natives, Native Americans themselves, due to the horrifying living conditions. I'm sorry, I'm just kind of today. So basically, they killed themselves because they did not want to live under this horrible, brutal white man. This man was a barbarian. He was not anybody's savior. He was not a hero. He was a barbarian. He was a savage. Some of his atrocities include, in his thirst for gold, he made all the young males 14 and over search the mine for gold so he can send it to Spain. And when they couldn't do it fast enough or well enough for his taste, he just cut off their hands. And also I heard in the Italiano people together as to the slave ships, you know how they herd prisoners and stuff together, you know, chain them all up together. He chained them by the neck and by the hands. And if some of them died due to being marched around and malnourished, he just chopped off their heads and he just kept them on going so that he could reach the ship in time to get to his date to meet the king and queen of Spain. So you had live people walking with dead bodies with no head, bleeding, stinking, rotting, and they had to endure this. So in a way, they were treated almost or equal to the way the slaves in the boats were treated. They just didn't know how to treat dark-skinned people back then. And a historian named Lawrence Bergreen said Columbus allowed his men to make the Taino women into sex slaves. So he was a human trafficker too. In truth, he was a well-known pedophile. Yes, I said pedophile. He told the coloners that came with him that the prime age for sex slaves were girls between the ages of 9 and 10. They were in much demand. He sent some of them to Spain as sex slaves as well as the older girls. Now, can you imagine? He's passing around 9 and 10-year-old girls. Girls who have even gone through puberty. Having sex with them, giving them to men, selling them as slaves. He was even cruel to his own settlers. According to historian Consuelo Vella, there was a great deal of hunger, envy, and all kinds of rumors. It was harsh living, like the old, the people in the Old West movies, how harsh it was for them when they had to cross from going east to west, the hostile territories and everything. So it was hostile in those tropical forests if you didn't know what was going on. One time he caught a poor settler boy who was hungry, steal some grain and bread. And you know what this bastard did? He had both of the boy's ears and his nose cut off. He was intolerant to the tiniest affraction. He was the prosecutor, the jury, and the judge. Cop, prosecutor, judge, and jury to the settlers and the Taino people. He and his men, they also brought, you know what they brought? They brought smallpox, syphilis, and famine to the Tainos because they had no immunity to these different things. By 1500, Columbus was finally brought back from the country as a prisoner to stand trial by King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella of Spain. We couldn't find out how long or what kind of punishment he received, but over 500 years later, history uncovered the brutal rule of Christopher Columbus and especially his pimping of little girls.